giving you useful and practical tips to help you make more money selling travel. This is the Art of Selling Travel Podcast, and here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
Welcome back. I'm so excited to be back here with you again. This week is a big one for me. I'm going to be hitting the road. I laugh and call it the National Lampoon's road trip. In reality, what I'm going to be doing is I am going to Pennsylvania to speak at the Central PA ASTA Grow Your Travel Business Symposium, and I'm super excited. I'm going to be leading a couple of different sessions. We're definitely going to be rolling with some Q&A for that one because, frankly, that's what I love. When I attend workshops and sessions, I love to do Q&A sessions, coaching sessions, because that's what I always wanted when I went, because I wanted to get things that were really applicable to me, to my business, and how it was going to help me grow, as opposed to just being talked at for the whole time. So the organizers have done a phenomenal job, and I can't wait. But what was supposed to be a 2-day conference has now turned into, like I said, National Lampoon's road trip, 10 days. I'm going to be traveling with my husband, with my parents. And we, instead of flying into Pennsylvania, are going to fly into Toronto. And then from there, we're going to drive down, hitting so much amazing countryside that we've never seen before. I almost hesitate to admit this. I feel like I'd lose my Canadian card. I've never been to Niagara Falls, so super excited to go there. We're going to be checking out the Finger Lakes of upstate New York and then down into Pennsylvania. Got some amazing things planned, but also a little bit of downtime. So why am I telling you all that? Well, because like you, I run a business, and the idea of being out of my business can be a little bit stressful. It can be a little bit overwhelming. And for years, when I sold travel full time, the amount of preparation that would go into it. And a lot of years, I found myself doing so much, just so much preparation and so much crazy long hours in the days leading up to being out of the country. All of these, just exhaustion. So that when I finally got on that airplane, all I wanted to do was sleep. I actually remember in the first year of owning my own agency, we opened it in May of 2011 is when I opened. And then November of 2011, I went to Punta Cana for a national leadership conference. So it was just the agency owners from the network that I was a part of, all the franchise owners and whatnot. We went to this conference, and I remember sitting on that plane and thinking, oh my heavens, for the next 8 hours, nobody can call me. Nobody can email me. Nobody can text me. Nobody can make demands of my time. Oh, wow. And from there, I had the very best. I had the very best sleep I had had in years. I had sold travel for 5 years for somebody else prior to that. But then when it was my own agency and doing and selling, doing all the things, if you will, for myself, it was an entirely different process. So I want to talk about what does it take to actually step out of your office, because I sure screwed it up over the years. Like I said, I got on the plane and had the most amazing nap ever because I was so absolutely exhausted. Funny enough, it took me right up till the end of 2018 to discover, oh yeah, you're burning yourself out. But here's the thing. You're in your last 48 hours. As of the time that this podcast airs, I'm going to be approaching that 48-hour mark, which means that the countdown is just ticking along. We can't push everything into that last 48 hours. Yes, there's always going to be things that come up last minute, this, that, the other. But it's not about the last 48 hours. It's about the 2, 3, 4 weeks leading up to your trip that is going to make the difference. You can't get everything done. So what are you going to do? You've got to figure out how to prioritize. It might mean saying no to an inquiry. It might mean saying, can this wait till I'm back? is this urgent? And really and truly establishing what needs to be worked on right now versus what can be worked on later versus is this even a right fit? This is a really good opportunity for you to consider, is this even the right type of trip for you to be working on? Because it's a good possibility. It just might not be. Are you going to have somebody who is going to be looking after your files while you're gone? If you're an independent contractor working by yourself, you might not necessarily have somebody that you can rely on, somebody that you can send those files to, or you might be working with somebody. What does that process look like? How will your clients know who to work with, who to hand that off to? When I had my own agency, of course, I had my own team of travel advisors that worked in my office. And so it would automatically send them an out of office to contact this person. And then, in fairness, I did double check my emails on a very consistent basis where I would send them off. Now, here's where it got extra crazy. There were times I did not put an out of office on my email because, oh, what would my clients think? How dare they think I, travel? Isn't that the irony of it? Our clients want us to travel the world, but yet our clients don't want us to travel anywhere when they need us. And trying to figure out that balance was really difficult. So I actually didn't put an out of office on my email because what if I risk losing client? What if I risk well, what if by not putting that on there, I didn't meet their expectations because I didn't turn it around as fast as I normally do? Having somebody who can follow up for you, who can monitor your emails or things like that is really important. And if you're not going to have somebody, how are you going to set aside time within your day to do that? I was actually saying to my husband the other day, this isn't your typical trip. So, for example, I have 2 full days where I'm going to be at this conference. So, I'm not going to be working in my own business. I'm not going to be doing all the things that I would normally be doing in an average day. I'm not going to be recording content that goes inside the programs. I'm not going to be building slide decks and this, that, the other, because I'm going to be at this conference. I'm going to be working at that conference. Might I send out an email here and there? Yeah, it's absolutely possible. But even at that, I don't know. Now, while we're driving, doing the road trip part of it, I'm definitely not going to be sending the emails because I'm the one that does all the driving. We've got to figure out where are the boundaries. So I will be telling people I'm offline for the next 10 days because the idea was to have a little bit of a vacation in there. Now, it's originally when I had this idea, I was like, well, I could work in the mornings or in the afternoons or something for a couple hours because I wanted to have a little bit of a slower trip. Then my parents were coming along and suddenly we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this and that and this and that. And suddenly all of the hours seem to be filled. They're retired. So the idea of having to work while you're traveling seems very foreign to them. Are you going to build in work hours while you're gone? Are you going to say that from this hour to this hour, you're going to work? I've talked many times with my husband about possibly going and living abroad for a month or 2 at a time. Well, I can't take a month or 2 out of my business. So what does that look like? How are we going to make that happen? Whether you're on a river cruise or you're staying at a villa or whatever it is that you're doing, what are you going to do to create time in your schedule? How are you going to build in those work hours? And then how are you going to stay consistent with them? Because when you're outside of your own routine, it can be difficult to do that. Or is this something you're going to do? Are you going to have a set office hour while you're traveling? Or is it just going to be, I'll get back to you when I have a moment. I'm going to get back to you in between different sessions, in between this or in between that. But here's the thing that I think so many don't talk about. What about when you get home again? What does that look like? This for me is the first trip I have actively not put anything in my calendar when I get back. That doesn't mean I don't have things to do. I have a lot to do behind the scenes. But anytime somebody has tried to schedule a call with me, to try and schedule a coaching class, to try and schedule anything in that week that I get back, I've said no. There's a couple of things for that. One, for some reason, the last few times I've traveled, I've picked up a bug on the plane on the way home, or I just didn't sleep properly on the way or while I was gone. So my body is a little bit run down. And I've learned maybe it's age, maybe it's grief that we're still working through. Maybe it's that thing with the 19 that we don't discuss. Whatever it is, when I get home from travel, I just need a couple of days to recover. Oh, how I wish I was 29 again. I would travel, get home at 3 o'clock in the morning, get up, get my kids off on the bus, and then be in the car and headed to work at 8:15. It was crazy the way it used to be. But now I know that that's not a reality. It just meant that I was prolonging what was the inevitable. So on my return to work schedule, I built in a lot of grace. Yes, I'm definitely going to be recording things, but I also know there is a possibility that in the event I get sick, I won't have the voice for it. So how do I prepare for that? One, the podcast you hear next week was already recorded. The podcast you hear the week after, also recorded before I go. I don't mean to spoil it, but they are pre-recorded. The thing is that if we leave to the last minute to do everything, and then we figure, oh, we'll just get it when we get back, we start to set ourselves up for failure. I have consistently put out a podcast every week going on almost 4 months now. I see the fruits of that labor coming back as each and every week, the number of downloads increases so much. It's so exciting to see that. If I didn't have that consistency, then why would people continue? Why would people stay with me? Why would people trust me? So by planning in advance, recording my podcast before I go, it makes a difference. It gives my audience an opportunity to be able to know that I'm still going to be there. I don't think you care if I record the day that it goes live, the week before it goes live, a month before it goes live, or 2 years before it goes. Well, maybe not 2 years. Okay, not 2 years, because we all want to make sure that the information's relevant. Like legit, if you get an email from a coach, a supplier, whatever, and they're giving you advice on how to run your business, and it's on in the attached YouTube link, I want you to click through, go to that YouTube link, see how old the advice they're giving you is. If they're giving you something from 5 years ago, it's time to cut and make a break for it. But here's the deal. So long as the information I'm providing you is current, relevant, and applicable to your business, I have a hunch you're okay that it was recorded 2 weeks before it went out. The way you prepare for being out of your office will dictate the freedom and flexibility you have while you're gone and the excitement you have when you come back. If everything is tight and stressed to the nines and is all about this tight restriction or this exhaustion or the overwhelm, the burnout, you start to worry about that while you're gone. And especially if you are on a pleasure vacation, I don't know about you, but there is nothing more exhausting than coming back from a vacation knowing how much work is waiting for you. It really kind of knocks out those last couple of days of vacation, because in the first few days, you're like, oh, this is wonderful. I'm so relaxed. This is so good. And then in the end, you're like, oh, I got to go back to that. That's what's waiting for me. Oh, I knew I should have just taken care of it ahead of time. I want to tell you a little story before we wrap up here. I was with the naturopath. Now, please understand, this is not medical advice, but I was with the naturopath, and she was explaining to me that when your cortisol levels are so high, it can actually eliminate your body's, the feeling of having a cold, because your body's just kicking it aside. She said in the short term, that's a good thing. Like it can be a good thing. Like the fact that you're like, oh, I didn't get a cold. I haven't had a cold in several months. I've been too busy for one. She goes, but don't think that's not going to catch back up to you. Don't think you're not going to pay for that later. She goes, because the moment your body gets a chance, it's going to get it. And it could be even worse. So I said to her, I said, so for those last couple of years that I owned my agency and I was completely burnt out and I was so proud of myself, I didn't get sick because I remember telling myself, oh, I don't have time for that. She goes, no, you were setting yourself up for more. I said, so then when I actually accepted the fact that I was burnt out and to be honest, that's when the gallbladder went and I ended up in hospital. Like all these things happened. She's like, yeah, that was your body catching up to you. And I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I will also say the more stress I was under once my body started to go, the more I felt that. So again, this is not medical advice. I probably didn't even say it the right way. I'm not a medical person. I sell travel. I teach travel advisors how to sell travel. What I'm saying though, is that we have to take care of ourselves. And while we all think going on vacation is a great way to do that, it's how we prepare to get out the door. It's how we prepare to be away from our business. It's how we prepare and set up the boundaries so that you're not under constant pressure and stress while you are traveling. The beauty of the world we live in nowadays is that we can travel and work at the same time. But I would really encourage you to have a strong plan for how that looks so that you're not always being pressured and not always having to do this, that, the other. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And I am going to be back with you next week with, yes, a pre-recorded episode, which, by the way, you want to tune into because it is our 2-year birthday. I'm super excited. I'm not going to ask for presents, but I am going to ask for one thing. And that is, if you are loving these podcasts, please consider leaving us a review. I would love to have you leave us a 5-star review. That's what helps get the podcast spread out to more people just like you who are looking to grow their travel business and looking for real results in their business from somebody who actually understands it. Okay, until next week, happy selling.